Thank y'all. The marathon continue. Victory lap tonight, though. Victory lap tonight.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast with Ryan McCarthy.
The marathon continues. That's what you would say.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast. We're joined today by Darren. How you doing, mate?
Ryan, excellent. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
No worries at all. Thanks for coming on, man. We've been teeing this up for a few weeks, so it's good to have you in the building and talk about crisis leadership, your story, and everything that comes with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be the greatest hour, the next hour.
Yeah, 100%. We'll make the most of it. But talk to us a bit about yourself, mate, because getting to a position where you're doing talks, you're posting content around crisis leadership. I want to get a bit of an understanding of how you got to that point to begin with. I guess when was some of the first moments when you realised crisis leadership was a crucial thing that you need to learn?
Great question, Ryan. And what I have learned is leadership in crisis is leadership when it matters most. And leadership in crisis is so much different from the day to day, because until you've been in a crisis, you don't know how you're going to react. But look, I joined the police from school, and I'm still current Queensland Police, 36 years, almost 37 years.
Congrats, mate.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and my employer is great. And I do have to just say from the beginning that whilst I am a Queensland Police officer, the views that I express today aren't those of the Queensland Police Service. So I'm not currently working, and I'm here in an unofficial capacity. So just to clarify that for all the viewers out there, that the views aren't those that are reflective of necessarily the Queensland Police Service. So they're my personal views and experiences, and we can't change them, can we?
No, not at all, but it's good to put that out there.
Yeah, no worries, Ryan.
Yeah.
So look, my journey into crisis began about 20 years ago. So as a police officer, I was relieving in a higher position. And I remember this night like it was yesterday. It was a Wednesday night. And it was 2 days after my youngest daughter's birthday. And it was unseasonably cold at the time. It was the middle of winter. And what happened was something that I can remember like it was yesterday. It's something that I'll never forget. So I had my normal nighttime routine, Ryan, where you tuck yourself into bed. It was about 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, right.
So, and being in this higher position, I was on call. So I did what I would always do: get my work phone, tuck myself into bed, and put my work phone onto the bedside table next to me. So I got ready for the best night's sleep of my life, Ryan.
Ready for a good snooze?
Ready for the best night's sleep of my life. And I got that, Ryan. I got that.
Yeah.
For about an hour and a half until the phone rang.
Yeah, right.
And when you're in that really deep sleep, Ryan, and you just don't know what's actually happened, the phone might ring and you're thinking, anyway, that happened to me.
That was me last night. I fell asleep for about an hour and a half and my baby started crying and I woke up. I was like, what's happening?
You do, because you're in that really deep sleep. So it was 11 o'clock and the phone rang and I was told something and I thought to myself, have I just dreamt this? Is this a nightmare or a dream? And straight away, the phone rang again. So I knew that this was a crisis and it wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
So what happened from that point is the phone started going bananas, because that's what happens in crisis. We can hear a few sirens outside, actually. But that's what happens in crisis.
Yeah.
Things happen at a really fast pace, and that's why leading in crisis is so much different, Ryan, to the day-to-day.
It's interesting because with crisis, it moves at a fast pace, but when you're in the middle of it, time moves so slow, even though the external moves quickly.
Yes, look, you're spot on, and it was really, so wake up in the middle of the night, phone starts going bananas, and you probably won't remember, Ryan, because you're a lot younger than me, but I had this phone. It was a Nokia phone. It was one of the old Nokias.
Yeah.
And it was like a peppermint coloured green.
Oh, yeah.
And it was one of these, it was a square box type thing. And at the time, you could, if you missed a call, it just went through the message bank, and you couldn't see the phone numbers and who was trying to ring you until you rang the message bank, because it just had one call at a time. So the phone's ringing and the phone is going absolutely bananas. And eventually my boss, I'm able to answer the call from my boss. And my boss said to me, you better get your dancing shoes on and get in there. So what I did was I was out of bed anyway, but I didn't even have time to have a shower. The phone was just going bananas.
Yeah, right.
And that's what it's like in a crisis. So I got dressed as quick as I could. I got the car keys. I went downstairs. I jumped into the car. I'm just about to drive out the driveway, and my wife comes running down the stairs and stops me. And she says, I want you to call me at 2:30 a.m. and let me know you're okay. So I drove to where I needed to go. It was about 15 minutes in the car. And of course I was on the phone the whole time in the car. And I remember this night because there was not a car on the road, because it was unseasonably cold. So I got there about 15 minutes later. I got to where I needed to be, and I got straight out of the car and it hit me. It was absolutely freezing. It was about -1 degree.
Yeah, right. Proper winter.
Proper winter. Proper winter. And you could hear a pin drop. It was just quiet. And I looked over and I looked in this direction and I saw a group of police, and then I looked in this direction and I saw another group of police, and I looked in that direction and I saw a number of police in a group there.
Yeah.
And I knew that this was a crisis. Because what you find, Ryan, is sometimes it can be hard to get police to attend routine matters.
You've got them in every direction you're looking. It's like,
Exactly.
dang, something's happening.
Yes, so exactly. So, but when there is a crisis, as you know, and it's not only with police and emergency services, it's with every organisation.
Yeah.
When there's a crisis, everyone's there. So I walked over to a group of police in this direction that I knew, and my worst fears were realised. So I was told that a colleague from the station I worked was missing, feared, murdered.
Well,
and obviously the details of the night are far too traumatic to share.
yeah.
So I wouldn't share those details with you, but what happened from that point, that was certainly a crisis, and I knew this was a crisis. Anyway, and look, we worked through the night, and when the sun came up the next morning,
Yeah.
this was all over the national news. And I still remember the reaction of my daughters. I absolutely love my daughters. They're the most amazing women. One's 28,
Yep.
and she's a nurse, and she works in the children's hospital.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And the other one's a teacher, and she's 26.
Oh, cool.
They're the most amazing women. I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
At the time, they were 9 and 7. And they wouldn't go to school until, because this was being all over the news, they wouldn't go to school until they had spoken to me on the phone and they knew I was okay.
Yeah. Well, especially because your wife asked for you to call at 2:30. How'd that go?
Yeah. It's one of the most commonly asked questions that I get is, did I ring my wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, I
You
did.
did? Yeah,
I
right,
did.
cool. Yeah.
I did. So
Yeah.
I did ring her and I did let her know I was okay. So we worked through the day, and that's what happens in crisis. And eventually the crisis resolved itself. And it got to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was able to go home. So I went and I was able to pick up my daughters from school.
Yeah.
So drove into the drive-through, and I went and I gave them the biggest hug that I've ever given them in my life.
What was that moment like?
Oh, it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
just a real moment of gratitude, Ryan, where you realise that how important these things are to you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I gave them the biggest hug, but it was at that point that I felt like a failure. And because what would normally happen is after something like this, you would go back to the station and catch up with the people that were there. Obviously, there's a number of people at the station, and you would have a few drinks.
Yep.
But I didn't want to go back to the station because I didn't know what to do or what to say to the people that were there.
Yep.
And I felt like a failure.
Because of that.
Well, I felt so reactive in the crisis. I'd never been in a scenario. And look, it wasn't my organisation, Ryan. It wasn't them.
Yep.
Like, my organisation had trained me in what to do when things went wrong.
Yep.
But it was my leadership. I just felt so reactive. I was always behind the curve. I felt like I was just following the bouncing ball. And I didn't know what to say to people, to their experiences. And I really struggled with what you needed to do to lead in crisis.
Yep.
And what I knew, Ryan, was that this would happen again. Like, I was a young man at the time. It was about 20 years ago.
Yep.
And I vowed that would never happen again. So I became obsessed with the skills that you need in crisis, because you can have frameworks and you can have different training, and that's all really good, but until you're in a crisis, you don't know how you're going to react.
100%. And it's so true. Like, it's like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, like that famous saying. But like, everyone has an idea of how they'll react in a crisis or a certain situation. Like, if you see something really bad happening on the news, people are like, I would have done this instead or done that. And it's like, if you're actually in that environment, you don't know how you would act.
Oh, absolutely. And until you've been there.
Yeah.
So what I did that afternoon, so I had my girls in the car, and I went home, and there was only one dangerous place to be, I can tell you. That was in, if you're a beer bottle in my fridge, because you didn't stand a chance of survival. That was for sure. And that's what we did back then.
Yeah.
And the therapeutic options to dealing with crisis and dealing with when things don't go well, we've obviously come a long way since then. But
Just crack a coldie.
crack a coldie and have more than one, just quietly.
What was the beer?
It would have been 4X back then.
Nice.
It was the old
Good choice.
dirty old 4X.
No VB.
Sold to the earth. No, not VB, being a Queenslander, of course. But
good.
But and that's when I started to feel like that I needed to do better, because I knew this would happen again. And that's when the obsession started. And once the dust had settled and we went through all the things we needed to, I wanted to make sure that I knew and could be comfortable in leading in crisis, because I knew it had happened again.
Yep.
And I didn't want to feel like a failure.
It makes me curious, because in a crisis situation, if you experience it and then you feel like you don't meet, I guess, somewhat of the expectation that you think you would have, some people may shine away from the light and not want to step back into a crisis situation. But for you, more so, it was more of a mindset. It's like, how can I use this as an opportunity to grow? With having that mindset, was that something that you had before this crisis situation? Is it something that you developed during this process? Or, like, can you talk to us a bit about your own, I guess, psyche in that process and how you had the mind frame of wanting to use these situations as a platform for growth?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And look, no, before it, I hadn't considered it, because my organisation's fabulous. They give you lots of training. I'd been trained with processes around what to do. But certainly, and maybe different people with different personalities are different, but I certainly wasn't prepared for how different leadership in crisis is with leadership in the day-to-day. I was nowhere near prepared for the time pressures and the complexity, because what happens in crisis, you've got to make decisions, split decisions with limited information.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Yeah.
On the spot. And I wanted to grow, because I knew this would happen again. And I was just adamant. I'm a bit of a competitor, Ryan, but this was never going to happen again. And it's for the people that would need to work with me. The people that I'm expected to lead into the future.
Yeah.
Like, they need the best version of Darren Smith out there when things go wrong. And that became the obsession. And so moving forward, I started to put my mind to a process that leadership in crisis, and how do you actually do that from a leadership perspective? And that became the obsession. So I started working towards that.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what was the biggest motivation for the drive to accomplish that thing?
It was the feeling like you're a failure and feeling like you're inadequate and you failed when it mattered most.
Yeah.
It matters most, because that's certainly what I've learned, Ryan, that people will look to you when things go wrong if you're a senior person, and having the skills and the behaviours and the process is so important.
And you want to be someone that people can trust, rely on, go to, and especially in the position that you're into.
Yeah, absolutely, because people, and depending on the situation, it's not just your colleagues that are relying on you. And it doesn't matter what workplace or what organisations. I'm really fortunate to do some work with local government, local councils, and they have different crises, but the themes are the same.
Yeah.
It's leadership in crisis when it matters most. And it's not only the people within the organisation that are relying upon you, it's also the community.
Yeah, 100%. Because what would you say are the biggest, I guess, differences between leadership in general and crisis leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. Leadership in general is really fairly linear. You've got time to make decisions in a lot of situations. Yeah. So, for example, let's say we have a bit of an issue, and we want to resolve it. You can sit down, you can go through your process, your decision-making process, and you've got time.
Yeah.
But in a crisis, you haven't got any of that. So your behaviour becomes more automated. That you've got to have a process for yourself. And I mean, look, in my day-to-day leadership, I love the opportunity to sleep on something.
Yeah.
Like if something's a bit tricky, I'll sleep on that. I'll have a bit of a think about that. There's nothing better than sleeping on a problem and getting some good people around you, especially if it's complex.
And give yourself some clarity as well.
100%. You can think through it. You can look at it from a 360-degree viewpoint. But crisis isn't like that. You can still get good people around you, but it's the time factor, and it's the complexity, it's the unpredictability. Crises will move very quickly.
Yeah.
Things change, and you've got to make decisions. And a lot of people get uncomfortable making decisions on limited information.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between, and this is why what I've learned is, and there's plenty of examples of it in the media where CEOs have been really good CEOs of large companies and organisations have come undone because they haven't led in a crisis how others would expect. But no doubt they're absolutely brilliant people in the day-to-day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too, because with like leadership, let me know if this analogy lends, or because I'm keen to learn more about on your perspective of things. But leadership is like knowing how to control a fire, and crisis leadership is more about how do you put out the fire when it's actually happening. Do you think that analogy fits?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's really about your actions and your leaders to work together with people on the ground to solve and bring a resolution to something. And of course, in the first instance, and that's why I developed BICRISIS, which is the business that I now run. And the whole purpose of BICRISIS is I wanted a leadership model to say BICRISIS and resolve any situation. Because being in crisis is not where you want to be. It's certainly a challenging position to be in. So
yeah, because that's actually a good segue, because I want to talk about BICRISIS and some of the frameworks within it, because in terms of learning and understanding and knowing how to handle a crisis situation, for someone that may have not had too much experience in those positions, like how can you train yourself, or I guess how can you be more comfortable in the crisis situation if it ends up manifesting into your life, if you've never really been in that experience before?
Yeah, look, great, another great question. Geez, you asked some good questions.
Thanks.
You've obviously done this before.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, a few.
No, look, and you're right. And one thing that BICRISIS does offer, BICRISIS will do training for organisations about how to lead in crisis. What I did though, over that 20 years, I started to develop a process for myself that I felt worked for me. And I wanted to pull that back to the key components. And even though a crisis is so unpredictable, and you've only got to look at what's happened, what's happening globally.
Yeah.
You know, the only certainty right now, I can tell you this with absolute confidence, is uncertainty. So in crisis, you still need to have a process about how you're going to lead. And really the framework that I've developed, it starts with the behaviours that you need in crisis. So have you ever been in a crisis or seen people in crisis and the leader is all in a flap?
Yeah, I've seen it a few times in my years of my careers, for sure.
Yeah, and that's one of the really important behaviours. You need to be calm, have poise, and provide that sense, particularly in a leadership sense, of reassurance that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So beginning with the leader sets the tone in a crisis. And I know I've felt when I've been in a situation where things have gone wrong, if the people above me are pretty calm, I'm feeling really good. But if they're in a bit of a flap, all of a sudden I'm worried. So I've really learnt the importance of, even if you might be thinking, wow, this isn't going well, the way to present yourself with reassurance, with calm and with poise.
I was just about to ask that, because even if in the moment you feel like, I'm a bit overwhelmed, but you have to position yourself as a way that, you know, that I'm calm, controlled, you know, because if you're all flustered, everyone below you is going to be flustered too. But if you can remain a calm presence, I guess that helps a lot.
Oh, it's absolutely critical. It's absolutely critical. The other factor that what I've learned over the years has been that there's nothing more important than the physical presence of the leader and the person that's in charge.
100%. Like in my years as a youth worker and doing community work for mental health, having like a team leader to go to in a crisis situation, especially in the early years, meant so much. Especially if it was a situation that I didn't know the answers to or solution to have a common presence there made everything else seem okay.
Oh, 100% right. And being present, so what I've adopted over that time, and that's part of BICRISIS, is being present. But the moment something goes wrong, you need to get on the ground where the people are.
Yeah.
Not sitting at home thinking, because, you know, funnily enough, guess what? Things go wrong in the middle of the night mostly. Yeah. Weekends, you look at weather events, you look at disasters, you look at...
It's never 11 a.m. Tuesday.
No, it's always out of hours. A lot of I think in Australia we've had 40 to 60 disasters in the last 12 months.
It's so true, because when I was a youth worker, like our office hours would finish at 4:30 in quotes, but the phone would always ring at 4 or 4:15 just before finish, and then you wouldn't go home because you need to make sure that the people that you work with are okay and your participants of the program. But it would always be at the end of your shift or during the night.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And at times people squirrel themselves away in a room to work out what to do. But that's not the preferred position.
Yeah.
You need, particularly in the first instance, and that first 12 hours, Ryan, is critical.
Yeah.
Around getting ahead of the curve and getting your process and getting things under control there. And it's a fast 12 hours, it will go like that, I can tell you.
No doubt. But with crisis leadership, because I believe you said before that it can be applied to people differently depending on their personality traits, how they handle situations. But do you think people's personal values of life plays a big factor on how they can handle crisis leadership situations? Like, would you apply their values and leadership to crisis leadership? Like, is there a separation between the two? Or is it more so getting to know the person and what works best for them?
Look, in day-to-day leadership, absolutely, certainly.
Yeah.
And we're all seeing AI and what the future brings in that space. But
sure.
What I'm learning is that, and continuing to learn, I've never gone away from this position, and you know yourself, everyone wants the personal touch.
Yeah, for sure.
People want one-on-one. They don't want one to a group or one to many. So that is a very common general leadership theme. But to your point, certainly when you've got leadership in the day-to-day and leadership in crisis, certainly where you have poise, you present a degree of reassurance, you're calm, because things still do go wrong in the day-to-day. It might not be a crisis, but no, certainly the same values and principles apply in a crisis. You've just got to be really clear on your process when things go wrong, because time is your enemy.
100%. In terms of crisis leadership outside of your career, like how has it served you in your personal life?
You certainly I've become calmer. And I've become calmer because I know it doesn't matter what happens, that I've got the process that I just work through.
Yeah.
And I have had the question a number of times, does this apply? Because obviously, very, very sadly, with the challenges that are out there in the world, we've got a lot of people that are in personal crisis. And look, I don't deal with personal crisis, it's more that organisational crisis, but the principles there within BICRISIS are certainly applicable to yourself.
Yeah.
And there is a commonality, because when things go wrong outside of work, the first thing I do is be there, and then you take leadership, you make decisions, and you present that reassurance, that calm and that poise, and work your way through the process. So I'm really fortunate, had some horrific experiences, but the learnings have been amazing, and I'm very fortunate to be where I am now through this obsession, really, of making the world a better place for people that are required to lead in crisis.
Yeah, 100%. That would make the world a better place, actually, because you think about how many crises are happening worldwide in Australia, community, and everywhere else, that we can equip the people who are in those leadership positions to handle it. I guess we can start getting better results.
Oh, 100%, and better results for the people that are working for those leaders, better results for the community.
Yeah.
But Ryan, leadership in crisis is leadership when it matters most.
And I think as well, like, for your own personal benefit, you can also gain a lot of self-belief just by having leadership crisis skills, or a lot of self-trust as well.
Yeah.
Because I think if you know how to handle, I guess, when the fires start, when all the chaos starts happening, you know you can trust yourself if a problem comes up in your own life, whether it's personal, whether it's internal. You know that you can find a process to get out of it, whether it's a crisis externally or internally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's that degree of quiet confidence, and I know now that whatever happens, I know that I've got the processes and experience. Nothing shocks me anymore, can I say?
Yeah.
But I know because I've been there, and we talked about this right in the beginning. Unless you've been in a crisis, you don't know how it's going to react. And that's why I'd certainly like to see more investment in crisis leadership, because it is so different to the day-to-day, and I don't believe that people really understand the difference.
Yeah, and especially people who are in roles who should definitely have the skill set and the understanding of how to handle it, because from my experience in some of the jobs that I've had in the community services, like we'd do role playing once every year, and like that was it. And it's like, but like there's a crisis every week, and it's like the skills weren't constantly updated, and it was like you can't just gotta sometimes wing it in the moment. But I think if we start putting more frameworks into organisations, into businesses, so they actually have the tools and they're equipped to handle these things, to then also teach their staff and put in frameworks for their staff, I think it'll make so much things a lot better. Because like I said, with my experience, it was like we do it every 6 months, every 12 months, but then you're dealing with a crisis every week and you just got to wing it half the time. And when you work in a position or in a job where you're working with people who are in the most vulnerable positions of their life, I think not being equipped to handle a crisis situation in those roles can be, pretty damning for the people on the receiving end of the support. So I think, the work that you're doing and the information and resources you're putting out there is important, because I feel like it's information that a lot of businesses and organisations should have.
No, absolutely, Ryan. You're spot on there with your comments. And what I've learned is that, like, and a lot of places do have a plan, but having a plan for when things go wrong and training people and then testing it they're three different concepts. But as an absolute minimum, that's what organisations need to do, because I mean I'm sure you've worked in organisations as I have, where there's a plan and nobody knows about it, or it's
Yeah.
just sitting on a shelf gathering dust.
Yeah, it's in like a book that's this thick. Yeah. It's like, what page is it on?
And you'd never be able to, and when things go wrong, you don't revert to a plan, which is why you've got to have training, and a plan's not worth the paper it's written on unless it's tested, as you know. So
How often do you think you should do training or preparation for crisis? Like if you were in the organisation?
well, certainly in the beginning, you need to make sure you've got a crisis management plan or an emergency plan. Either of those will cover it. I'm always of the view that a crisis management plan is certainly, because crisis is more is a greater degree of breadth to an emergency, because an emergency can come and go pretty quickly, whereas crisis means many different things for organisations. You look at reputational harm, you look at IT.
True,
There's a whole crisis in emergency is so different to crisis for different organisations, but as an absolute minimum, it's those three things, Ryan. You need a plan. You need to make sure people are trained in a plan and they know what to do when things don't go as they should, and also that it's tested.
Yeah.
And you can test that in the beginning through discussion exercises, which is critical. So
Yeah.
one thing that we haven't touched on so far in this conversation, which is critical within crisis, and I've always been a very reflective person. So on the way home, I'll reflect on what the day looked like. Oh, geez, I didn't really handle that well, or maybe I could have done that better. So thinking the car trip on the way home is always one where I look at what I did during the day, and what I've evolved to, though, and this is critical in crisis, you need to be reflecting in action. So when it's happening, and just thinking about how are things going, how are people, what's people's body language like, how are people reacting, and then adjusting your leadership on the fly is often a critical point too. So because no good waiting till after.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So going to a model where you reflect in action. So for example, during this conversation, I'll be reflecting as to how this is going, and it's an amazing conversation. I'm so grateful for being here.
Yeah, likewise.
But being in that moment, particularly in crisis, you really need to be able to read how things are going and look at the people that are with you, see how they're going, and provide that degree of reassurance. So,
How do you stay grounded in the crisis moment? Is it like a breathwork technique? Is it a self-talk technique? Like, is there anything specific that you do personally, or something that you teach that helps people ground themselves?
yeah, certainly having the model and having the BICRISIS model helps you, because you can work through the different stages. It's a process around how you lead during crisis. And otherwise, what I've done is the experience helps.
Yeah.
So the more you're in crisis, when you have to make decisions, you get better at that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like everything, whether you learn to ride a bike, it's all experience. But if you can surround yourself with really good people,
It's key.
and the people that you can trust and the people that can support you, because I'm certainly not the master of all knowledge.
Yeah.
And as we know, and crisis, one thing I've learned about crisis is, and Donald Rumsfeld said this, he talked about known knowns and known unknowns and unknown unknowns. So he talked about the fact that there are often things that we don't know. So you've got to be, with good people around you, you'll make good decisions. That always helps.
Yeah.
And the process around you enables you to make decisions.
Yeah, I love that. I think having a good team around you is super important. But with yourself now and the BICRISIS framework, like, what's some of the stuff that you do now with that? Like, whether it's talking at conferences, workshops of organisations, can you talk to us a bit about what you're doing with that side of things?
So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm working with a number of local government associations and also with local council.
Yep.
And part of the work that I do is leadership in crisis. It's the training, and it's also around preparation and testing of what they do.
Yeah.
I'll also do some speaking, and it's great to have the opportunity to be with you here today.
Yeah.
So telling my story is one thing that I wanted to do, because if if I can make the world a better place for those people that are required to lead in crisis through sharing my story and my failures, then if one leader is better in crisis, then the world's a better place, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. But if there was like an organisation, business owner, or anyone listening to this, and they're like, I want to get in touch with you to discuss if you could support us with crisis leadership, is that a possibility? And if so, what's the best channels?
Yeah, absolutely. www.bicrisis.com, which is BICRISIS.
Link will be in the bio.
Yeah. So, yeah, and look, always happy to have a conversation and it's not about leadership in crisis and what I do, it's not about me, it's about the people that I can add value to. It's not about what Darren's doing, it's about how can I support organisations so that they're prepared when things go wrong, because guess what? Things go wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like you said, it can be different in industries. Like, as a youth worker, but even like crisis situations when I was a chippy building house frames, like there was some situations where one of my mates shot himself in the liver by accident with a framing nail, and he had to go to the hospital. It's like, how do you handle that in that situation? So there's so many different aspects where this can come into play.
Oh, absolutely. And crisis means so many different things for different organisations. So what may be a crisis in local government's different to business, which can be different for childcare, aged care. So there's so many different aspects that can cause crisis. And having the framework that you can apply across any of those situations is critical.
Yeah. But before we finish here, Darren, is there any final words or any final things you want to touch on or share with the audience?
No, I just want to say how grateful I am. It's been an amazing conversation.
likewise.
It's been the best. I've loved to be here and thank you for the opportunity. And I'll leave you with this one comment. Leadership in crisis is leadership when it matters most. That's what people expect from you. If you're a leader, you're a CEO, you're a business owner, when things go wrong, people are looking to you to make the right decisions. And you can be a really good leader in the day-to-day, and that's good. But when things go wrong, that's when you need to stand up. And that's why I will leave everyone there with this, that it's leadership in crisis is so much different to leadership in the day-to-day. And leadership in crisis is leadership when it matters most.
Darren, thank you for coming on the One Talk podcast. All the links for Darren and how to find them and his website and LinkedIn, everything will be in the bio of this episode. Thanks, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm very grateful.
Cheers.
See ya.